So welcome everyone. We'll go ahead and get started. Allow our panelists to introduce themselves, starting with you, Jessica.
Hi everyone, my name is Jessica Calhoun. I'm the Assistant Director for Veteran and Military Admissions here at Syracuse University. Originally from San Diego, California, now I call Syracuse home. So really excited to have you here. Happy to answer any questions that you have, and excited to have Miguel and Charlie here with us too to talk more from the student perspective, because that's so helpful. You can hear us talk all night and day, but talking to the students who are really living this experience is probably the most valuable thing that you have.
I'm Austin Bettinger. I'm an admissions counselor for veterans and military connected students here at Syracuse. Unlike Jessica, I was born and raised right here. So Jessica's awesome for answering questions about the university. And if you have any questions about the community as a whole, I feel like I'm really good at answering those types of things. But as Jessica mentioned as well, having Miguel and Charlie here to really, dive into as what it is as a student or a student veteran at Syracuse University, that's a resource you should definitely use. So Miguel, if you want to go ahead.
All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Miguel. I'm a rising senior. I'm doing a BS in biology with a BA in history and a minor in public health. I started here was about a year ago, and been actively involved with student veteran organization, actively involved with the University Senate, as well as getting involved with policies on university campus. So if you have any questions, don't be afraid to ask.
And Miguel, what branch of service were you in?
Oh, I was Army, 91 Bravo.
Charlie, go ahead. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Absolutely. I'm Charlie Pogue, originally from Asheville, North Carolina. Syracuse is now home. I bought it. My wife was originally from here, so whenever I got out of the Marine Corps, this is where we ended up settling down. I just became a senior over this last summer semester. I'm at Newhouse studying for public relations with a minor in political science, and this is basically home now, so I just have to deal with the cold.
Excellent. And to all our participants this evening, if you'd like to ask Jessica, Austin, Miguel, or Charlie a question, you can use the Q&A button at the bottom of the screen. But we'll start with the first question, and this is kind of for Miguel and Charlie. What made you choose Syracuse University out of all the other colleges you were looking at?
I know mine pretty easily. I came to SU about 10 years ago, 2008, 2009, on a program while I was on active duty at Newhouse, and got an incredible year of very intense education in visual communications. And knowing the brand of the education that was being offered whenever I got out, and I started thinking about the idea that I wanted to pursue a degree in public relations or something communications wise, I just knew I didn't really have another choice but Newhouse. Not that that's bad, it's a really good choice, but to know that I had that option available and that I could do it without a lot of I don't want to say a lot of resistance, but knowing that the veteran programs that they have at SU, the red carpet was going to be rolled out, it was just a really easy choice to want to come back here to finish my degree.
For me, it was actually a really interesting experience because Jessica, I don't know if you remember me when I was back in 2017. So back on active duty, I went to Hopkinsville Community College, and I was one of the SVO presidents, and I got to go to a leadership institute. So I went to one of the SVA conferences, and they had colleges recruiting, and Syracuse was down there in Texas when I went. And I remember talking to Jessica about it, and I took some time to think about it. And I wanted to actually go to Cornell originally, but I got to talk to the provost, and he recommended SU for me. He says maybe I should look at SU. They have more veteran activities that may be beneficial, and they've been paying off truly in the long run. So that's why I'm at SU, because the Cornell provost told me to come to SU.
It's always great when other schools can recommend us to people. For everyone, what is your favorite thing about the Syracuse area? There's a lot to do in Central New York, but for folks that aren't from around here or haven't spent any time, what are some of the things that you would recommend for them to do?
I'll go first. So I love this is gonna sound really bad, but I love the wine region in the Finger Lakes. So you can go wine tasting in that area. I just did a very socially distanced wine tasting at Three Brothers Winery, so that was a lot of fun. But I'm also a big sports fan, so I really love professional sports. So we have the AAA affiliate of the New York Mets here in Syracuse. So you get to see like people like Aaron Judge when they were coming up through the minor league system. You get to see him play. I got to like yell at him and tell him like he's gonna strike out when he was playing
really
here.
Sure.
Yeah, I really did. So that was a lot of fun. So I really like the semi-pro teams that we have here, and then the AAA affiliate, the Tampa Bay Lightnings for hockey. So that's another really awesome thing that I love about this area.
I think for me, it's definitely having all 4 seasons every year. Right now in the summertime, I get off work every day. We get off at 4:30, and by 5 o'clock, I'm at the beach already, just because there's not much else to do right now because of the pandemic and whatnot. But then in the fall, I love the stuff that Jessica's mentioning with the wine country and the apple picking. And hopefully we have football season this year, but who knows? In the wintertime, I definitely embrace that kind of stuff, whether I go snowmobiling and snowboarding and things like that. Springtime is always amazing because you're finally looking forward to summer again after that long winter. So really, that's probably my favorite part of this area is always having 4 seasons, distinct seasons too.
Go for it, Miguel.
All right. So I would like to echo too, like, especially with the 4 seasons. I love snowboarding personally. So I have a few friends at work that I help with. They take me out to Oswego to go snowboarding. The Syracuse Crunch. I love the Crunch. Watching the hockey games. That's a great time to really, really see kind of like the atmosphere of the city is around sports. That's a big thing. I know, especially basketball here. So if you love basketball, you definitely got to come out and watch the games.
I really like the diversity of what there is to do in the area. I know Syracuse doesn't register on the map for a lot of people, but it does have a really interesting downtown area with some great museums, some great art centers, things like that, which I think my wife and I tend to enjoy more. We have 2 young kids, so a lot of the stuff we do is a little bit more family-oriented activity. Like we love going to the baseball games that Jessica was talking about, love going to the Syracuse Crunch games because they're just more family-oriented type things. But yeah, it's just the fact that you have everything kind of that you want in a small area, and you can really get out into Adirondacks and everything else within less than an hour's time frame. You can be out in camping type situations. So that's just what I love about this area.
So taking it in a slightly different direction, are there any resources available for students that maybe aren't sure what they want to do when they're thinking about applying to Syracuse? Is there a way to maybe help a student select their major or what they would want to study while they're at Syracuse?
It's a really good question because that's it's not an easy thing. I think I went through the ringer of what do I want to major in, and kind of that what do I want to do for the rest of my life. And I don't think it's always, a straight answer, but I think the great thing about a Syracuse education, and Miguel and Charlie can kind of chime in here on this, is you have this, especially in Newhouse and arts and sciences, is you have this liberal arts core that really helps you get into the natural sciences, the social sciences, the humanities, that really helps you figure out kind of where you want to be. If you were like Charlie and you got basically stationed in the Marine Corps here to do visual journalism, that kind of helped you on your path. So maybe Miguel, how did you decide on biology? How did that, I know, were you thinking about being a science teacher? Was that
So the original reason why I came here was pre-vet.
Right,
when I originally came
okay.
here. And it's been an interesting turn because I work at a vet clinic. So I got to see, could I do this every day for the rest of my life? And I stuck with the BS in biology, and I'm actually going to biostatistics. So from my original intent was to go towards pre-vet to be a veterinarian. It eventually turned into policy. So I looked at policy for healthcare, which is why I have a minor in public health, but biostatistics falls under the public health sector. So I maintained that and kept biology because it actually is still relevant.
So what, did you take a class, or what was kind of the launch?
Class.
Yeah.
Dr. London, taking with Dr. London with statistics really showed me, and I remember I talked a lot to Vice Chancellor Haney. By the way, he would love talking to every veteran. He's very open. He sat down a couple times with me with coffee, asking me, Miguel, what do you want to do? and him and I would talk about it, and he would network me with certain professors, deans. Like, he's very down and down to earth about that. He will guide you if you still don't know. He will help kind of like bring down your process, which he helped me out with. And he had me talk to Dr. London, and after taking Dr. London's class for statistics for social sciences, it really showed me how I can actually learn how to interpret data, how to properly analyze data, and use it from a standpoint from medical use to as well as helping with environmental use to multiple uses in the social sciences. And actually find out that was my niche, something I was good at. But I took multiple classes, like in policy. I jumped around to anthropology. I was looking at these different fields, because you can with the arts.
Right. Yeah, what about you, Charlie? How did that, was that your original MOS in the Marine Corps? And then
I started off as a combat cameraman, which is why I came for the photojournalism type of school. But that was also about the time in my career where I started shifting a little bit and learning more about actual just communications. Because as you move up in the rank in my field, you kind of, like most places in the military, you get more and more behind a desk and less fun. And then as that shifted more into communication strategy and public affairs and government communications type work, which is what I left out on whenever I got out and knew that I just wanted to really focus on moving my family somewhere nice so that they could grow up and have a great, normal childhood. And knowing that Newhouse is here as one of just a great communication school, and not only that, just the SU kind of environment that is in this city. It was just really a no-brainer to really apply my background into a degree from one of the better communication schools. So there wasn't a lot of hesitation about the choice.
So it seems like both you kind of had a general idea of where you were heading. The next kind of question kind of deals with career services. What services are available to help students when they graduate find a job?
We have a gen. This is one thing that I talk a lot about, and I was kind of surprised about as far as colleges and universities. I don't want to say catering towards veterans, but really rolling out the red carpet and assisting them in this next career change in their lives. Is we have a woman whose her sole job is professional development, career placement, and things like that, and she does an amazing job. I think it's impossible for a student veteran to go to the rescue and not meet Jennifer at one point in time, but she is a godsend, and not a lot of colleges and universities have somebody like that. So that's one area that SU is phenomenal with, is getting employers here on campus specifically for student veterans. We have evening events to where you can very intimate one-on-one with employers and recruiters from various organizations, both local and abroad.
Yeah, Jen Pluto, I went on the New York City trip last semester. We got meet CEOs, executive directors, VPs who are actively trying to talk to us. And it's because of Jen setting it up to allow us to go to the city. What was the last one? I think it was in Massachusetts. Boston was one of those supposed to happen. I think it was.
Yeah, it was supposed to get kicked because of COVID.
Yeah, because of COVID. But you have these basically almost every semester to where you have the opportunity to actually talk to these leaders, industry leaders, like face to face, and communicate to them, because you have these fairs or when they come together in the job fairs, just to network. Key thing is, if you aren't confident to go ahead and apply right now, you can go ahead and pick apart their brains and figure out how did they get in that industry, how did they grow from there. It's really cool.
Along a similar vein, have either of you done internships while you're here, or what internship opportunities are available for students that are studying?
I was gonna say, go ahead, please.
I was gonna say, so I haven't done any internships per se, but I've done research for the university, especially for being a biology major. I do with microbiology research, as well as help create policy for the university with the Senate.
Can you talk more about that, Miguel, about the research you've been doing? Because Syracuse University, for those who don't know, is what's known as an R1 research institution, which means we're one of the best research universities in the country. So can you go into that a little bit more, Miguel? And then Charlie, we can talk to you about internships and some of the other practical experience you've had.
So yeah, with research within biology, so I do work with Dr. Silver. He's actually been paying attention a lot with COVID. We are actually about to debunk possibly what we call the cell cycle. So it's really cool. He's been working on it since the 70s. And it's cool because normally when people do research, they typically take graduate students, but a lot of professors here at SU like to get undergraduate students to get you that experience. And that's going to help carry you before you go to grad school. A lot of professors, they have research fairs every semester within the biology department, and even in the arts, not even just science, psychology department also has opportunities for this. I'm trying to think of other professors that do research besides chemists and biologists, but they do have fairs every semester asking for students to participate and join. And you don't be afraid to ask your professor too if you can join the research, because they want students. They want you to talk to them, but a lot of students are bashful. But they notice that a lot of veterans, they actually, like my professor told me too, why he wants veterans. It's because we have that analytical thinking process. We know how to think outside the box more. And if something's confusing, we don't quit. He told me, he says, you guys just, like, I stayed literally till 11:30 p.m. one day, and he gave me a problem at 6 p.m. I stayed till 11:30 p.m. trying to figure it out. And he just laughed. He's like, all right, I get it. He's like, that's the mentality he looks for, though. And a lot of veterans carry that kind of backing.
So for me, I came here kind of with the mentality that having 15 plus years of experience in communications, I didn't need to do an internship. But going back to Jen and some of the experience I've had with her in a different engagements we've had with employers, whether it be the national convention we went out to in LA over the Christmas break or winter break, was learning that a lot of times companies use those internship pools as recruitment for future employment. And it made me start to actually reach out to a couple of the companies that I would specifically like to work for and start engaging them about kind of creating my own internship program, because I didn't want to go through the normal school route. Because I do have experience in it, but it is vital. It is something that in today's market you just kind of have to do. And I think a lot of people come into it with the idea like, I'm older, I don't do internships. It's that's for kids, and that really is a way that employers are hiring now. So, yeah.
That's all great information, guys. Thank you. So Jessica and Austin, can you talk about the application process? Specifically, how does a student veteran apply, and what are some of the things you look for in an application?
Which question do you want to tackle, Austin?
Yeah, sure. So as far as the application process itself, we do have a separate application for student veterans. It is a free application. It is a simple application. It ends up only being about 3 or 4 pages long. So I always encourage students, no matter what, if you're interested in applying, a lot of students think like, I won't get in, or, I'm not ready, whatever it may be. It's free. Apply, get the feedback from us. That's valuable in itself. So yeah, make sure you use that student application, or the student veteran application, I should say. And it's really simple to apply to Syracuse as a student veteran. It's not a whole lot of requirements. If you have more than 12 college credits under your belt from whatever it may be, with the exception of your JST or your CCAF, we don't require anything from high school. There's no SAT, ACT, or high school transcript that we need from you at all. Starting next fall, we are actually waiving the SAT or ACT requirement. So for a lot of you listening to this right now, this will not apply to you whatsoever. There's a 1-page double-spaced personal essay that you can write on whatever you want. You can say why you want to go to Syracuse, why you want to go to college, what you want to do someday. Tell us a story about something you did in the military. Whatever you want, that personal essay can be on. We just want to make sure, that you're able to portray to us something positive that you want to do or have done with your life. With the exception of those things, the second you apply, you'll come through on a list to myself and Jessica and Scott, and we'll be there to walk you along the way of everything you need for your application. You'll probably get annoyed, honestly, by the amount of emails you'll get from us saying we need this, we need that. Your DD-214 is something that we always need from student veterans as part of your application. But also we realize that a lot of people, if they're taking terminal leave or whatever it may be, they may not have that DD-214 yet. We will accept like a current copy for orders or an enlistment agreement or whatever it may be to suffice for that time frame. So it's a really hands-on process for you to apply to Syracuse University as a student veteran. And myself, Jessica, and Scott will be there with you every single step of the way to make sure that you meet all the requirements, meet the deadlines, and we get you squared away to make sure your application is the best package it can be for you to come to Syracuse University.
Yeah, I think that's a really succinct way of kind of, I know Charlie didn't go through the traditional the application route because he was already here for the visual journalism program. But what I would say is one of the things I really like about the way that we do admissions at Syracuse is it's very hands-on, like Austin mentioned. We kind of work with you throughout the process and we get to know you. So it's not like you're just like a faceless cog and we don't know who you are, we haven't talked to you or anything like that. We've met you, or we've talked to you on the phone, or we've emailed with you. And that really helps personalize your application, which helps us in making those admissions decisions. And really, we don't look for reasons to deny students. Everything we're looking for is, how do we admit this student? How do we get, make them successful in specific majors and things like that? And we also we have personal experience. So Scott was in the Army for 20 years, so he knows about, he has that wealth of knowledge. Austin is currently in the Air National Guard, so he has that knowledge as well. I will tell you, I was not a great high school student. I was not a motivated high school student. I played lacrosse and that's all I really cared about. And so it took me a while to get going in college and to be really successful that way. And we totally understand that not everybody is a rock star high school student and jumping out with a 4.0 and stellar SAT, ACT. Sometimes it takes a while to get things going, and a lot of our student veterans, they say, I didn't do great in high school, but once I got into the Marine Corps, got into the Army, got into the Navy, I really got that time management, that I'm going to work through anything, I'm going to get this done no matter what, really that drive. And then everything else kind of became easier, because they knew how to kind of motivate themselves. And plus, their military service also, is counting for different college credits. A lot of the services, especially the Army, is really big on pushing the educational component. So all of those things are really an asset to a student's application. And like I said, we're always looking for reasons to admit a student and not to deny a student.
Hey, Jessica, I had a question about affordability. Can you talk a little bit about the Yellow Ribbon program or some of the other ways student veterans can fund their education? Maybe even talk a little bit about voc rehab at Syracuse University.
Yeah, absolutely. So I used to work in financial aid, both here and at a state school in California. So I've kind of seen the full spectrum of all of the different ways that students pay for different types of education. But one of the things that I really love about Syracuse University is that it's a Yellow Ribbon school. The Yellow Ribbon program partners with the post 9/11 GI Bill. So if you have 36 months of active duty service, you're at that 100% tier of the post 9/11 GI Bill, you're eligible for the Yellow Ribbon program. And so state schools cap the amount of GI Bill that the students are eligible for. So I think it's about $21,000 a year. And the Yellow Ribbon program meets the rest of the need for private schools cost. So for our student veterans, the out-of-pocket cost, and Charlie and Miguel, you can kind of back me up on here, the out-of-pocket cost is very small, or seemingly none, because the Yellow Ribbon program and the post 9/11 GI Bill picks up that full tuition and fees. I think a lot of students get a little bit of sticker shock when they see the tuition and fees at Syracuse, and then you see, oh, the VA is picking up all of it, so I'm good. And then the same thing with voc rehab. Voc rehab, depending on the academic plan that you have worked out with your voc rehab counselor, your VA counselor, they can cover up to a master's degree. We've had voc rehab approved for law school students. So if you have voc rehab, or is that something you're interested in, it is a VA educational, not an educational benefit, but a employment benefit. So definitely talk to your VA counselor about that. But there's also other types of aid that students are eligible for. So you can apply for federal aid, you can apply for the Pell Grant and things like that. And so there's a lot of other supplements. Plus the VA has the monthly housing allowance that goes along with the GI Bill, the book stipend. So I see Miguel and Charlie are nodding. Kind of, I'll let you guys jump in and talk about a little bit about your experience, having your benefits certified and that whole process.
So yeah, I know the Pell Grant is a major assistance. Definitely apply for it, no matter what. Regardless of your income, just apply for it. and I know how to do so one thing is, if you come from active duty, I had to do it personally. Make sure you do FAFSA adjustments, because it will reflect on your previous tax return on what you made on active duty and what you're not making any longer. So definitely, that's one advice I got when I went to community college. They told me when I got to SU was make sure to get that clarified. And all I have to do is a FAFSA appeal, and then you can get the maximum for the Pell Grant, as well as I've yet to see any debt personally because of the yellow ribbon. I've yet to receive anything, and it really is because of the yellow ribbon. So it's a great asset that the university has.
My only expense here is I pay for a parking pass in the garage. That's the only thing that I really come out of pocket for here. And it's just because I have two young kids. If I was single and on my own, that we have a great transit system here, a bus system that goes in and around the campus and everywhere. And I think a lot of people use that because it does drop you off everywhere on campus. But other than that, my books are paid for. Like everything is literally paid for. And in a way, you kind of get paid to come be a student here because you're getting your PH and everything else. It's kind of you listen to the regular, I don't want to call them the regular students, but the non-military students, and they talk about some of the woes and the issues that they have with the expenses and costs. And you're just kind of like, sorry. But yeah, it is pretty remarkable. It's nice.
Charlie and Miguel, this question is specifically for you guys. Have you had any difficulty adjusting as an adult student on a campus that's mostly filled with 18 to 22-year-olds? And has that impacted how you approach class or how you approach some of your classmates?
I turn 38 here in next week actually, and there was a lot of hesitation whenever I came back, honestly, because I was kind of like, okay, I know I'm coming into a tech savvy social media world with public relations, and that's going to be a big part of what I'm doing, and I'm going to be around young kids, and honestly, it's been phenomenal. They're very receptive. My professors are insanely understanding of any issue. If I have a kid that's sick, or just the fact that like, hey, I haven't been in school in 20 years, other than my stint that I came here 14 years ago, which didn't a little bit different, but it's been great. And I feel like a lot of times, because of the background and experience that you do bring as an adult learner into the classroom, you can in a way assist with some lessons, because you'll run into things that you're familiar with or that you have knowledge on that's outside of a textbook. And some of the professors haven't been doing the job in a while. They're very knowledgeable, but they're not up to date on some of the stuff. And it's really beneficial. And I've never had another student, a regular student, made any sort of snide or rude comments about age or anything like that. So it's been good.
Actually, I had a lot of professors that are appreciative of having a veteran in the classrooms a lot, because you bring a whole different perspective, and they do talk about that a lot. And I've never had any issues with students. They've been more open-minded, asking about your service. They're curious and they're welcoming. If anything, they look at you for actually a lot of input. They really do. The only times I've seen on campus is like where some kids will be like shopping on their laptops, but that's expected. Half of them are going to pay attention, half of them don't. But otherwise, it's been very positive, and a lot of them are very attentive, and they really want your input on a lot of things. So you kind of play like a role model in the classroom sometimes.
Excellent. Kind of sticking along that same theme, where do most student veterans live? Do they live on campus or off campus? And is there an advantage to one over the other, in your opinion?
I can only answer from what I know from the SVO's perspective. I don't know if one of the adults in the room have like better stats and figures on where we all live. I know a lot of people live off campus. We had a couple of student veterans that were living on campus, but I think you'll find that just cost-wise, what you're paying and what you get for, you can find some better deals out in town. And most of the time, you have a vehicle or you have means of conveyance, and you can get a little bit away from campus. I live off campus. I live east in a little area called DeWitt, very family friendly. A lot of areas around in and around Syracuse are family friendly, especially whenever you get a little bit further and further away from the city. But most student veterans, they'll live in and around campus, like within about a mile and a half, but not on campus housing.
Yeah, I'm with Charlie now. Like, I don't live on campus housing. I live at Nob Hill. So for the busing and everything, I get a bus that picks me up straight from the apartment to campus. So I don't have to worry about paying for a parking pass. And I know some apartment complexes, especially going down towards campus, they have that accessibility to you. So I can't really speak on those who live on campus, but I know a few that live off by me.
Yeah, I'll kind of jump in a little bit on, we have, for the most part, most of our student veterans do live off campus. We do have students who are who are coming here and kind of looking for a landing spot before they go an apartment search. They're like, I don't really know exactly where I want to live, what I want to do, you know, where I should be. And so they'll live on campus for one semester, and then they'll find roommates or anything like that and move off campus. And so it's nice. We have an agreement with housing. You're not locked into a year-long housing agreement. So you don't have to live on campus for a full year unless you really, really want to. And we've had one student veteran who was like, I want to live in the residence halls. I want to have that. If you guys know Colin Santa Croce, he's a law student now. But he was like, no, I want to have that like on-campus living experience. You don't live in the residence halls. We put you in the South Campus apartments. So it's a traditional apartment. But like I said, most of our students want to have the choice of not having to worry about move-in schedules and all of that. So living off campus is, I would say, even a cheaper option too. It's a little bit easier to kind of manage your monthly housing allowance and things like that.
And how much is that monthly housing allowance, Jessica?
He sent me the number. I think it's about $1,500 a month. I know it differs because certain students are like grandfathered into certain amounts, and it changes every August 1st. And I haven't seen the new amount, but Charlie, do you know off the top of your head?
So I know the guys that started right before the because I came in January 2019, and the people that started before that had a little bit more money than I did. I'm at around 1,500, and
Yeah,
whatever it changes to and drops, I don't care about because I'll continue making 1,500. I'm sorry.
I believe it's E5 with benefits, correct?
Yes,
Right.
it is always E5
Yeah.
with benefits.
So you can look it up month by month if you'd like.
So Jessica and Austin, can you talk a little bit about the difference between the Institute for Veterans and Military Families, the programs that they offer, versus attending as a full-time undergraduate student versus attending part-time through Syracuse University's University College programs?
Okay, so we have IVMF part-time and full-time?
Yeah, kind of the three
Okay.
options that
Yeah.
Syracuse University offers, because a lot of people are familiar with IVMF because we have so much presence on military bases. That versus if they wanted to attend a full-time program or versus a part-time online program.
Yeah, so our Institute for Veterans and Military Families, which was started by our Vice Chancellor, Mike Haney, who's now just the man about campus. He's on our coronavirus task force, so we get emails from him like once a week. But really, the Institute for Veterans and Military Families is a transition program. It's on military bases across the country and overseas. And it's really designed to transition service members from military service into different career fields. So it's not directly, you don't have to be a Syracuse University student to utilize those resources. Actually, 99% of the service members who are using those resources are non-SU students. It doesn't mean our SU students can't use those resources, but like I said, it's mostly service members who are transitioning, and they have, boot camps that help you if you're like looking to be an entrepreneur. They have certification programs. So if you want to get your Six Sigma Green Belt or your PMP or your Cisco certifications, the IVMF offers all of those courses for free. You don't have to pay at all, and it doesn't use up any of your GI Bill benefit. They're not taking months off of your benefit to use those programs. And so it's really great. Our entrepreneurship programs are phenomenal. I had a cousin that actually went through one of our entrepreneurship programs. He's starting an MMA gym down in Miami, and he absolutely just raves about that program. And so it's a really, I don't know if Miguel or Charlie, if you've done any of the IVMF programs, but
I would say I'm doing the right now the SAS program. And I started the July cohort, so I'm working on that right now as we speak.
I also, real quick, like to think of IVMF as, I think, Jessica, you mentioned it yourself, but outward facing, if you will. And then we also have the Office of Veteran and Military Affairs, which is kind of inward facing towards the university, helping our current student veterans with anything and everything they could ever need, related to school and stuff like that. So I like to think of those two things as OVMA, Office of Veteran and Military Affairs, as inward facing, and then Institute for Veteran and Military Families as outward facing away from the university.
So Charlie, this question is kind of directed to you as the president of our Student Veterans of America chapter. Can you talk a little bit about some of the activities that the chapter does? How active are they on campus? How is it a club for veterans to get together? What are some things you all do?
I'll first say that our activities in the coming months are going to be very interesting. I actually just got the handbook from our student activities organization. It's kind of like the governing body for the student activities on campus about what we can and can't do for activities. But I haven't been able to read it yet because I am in a statistics class right now and we're in our finals. So I don't like reading right now. But what we typically try and do is we try and host one event socials so that our student veterans can meet each other. They can meet the people from OVMA and everybody that's here to support you. Because I think one thing that happens as soon as you hit the ground here, you start focusing on classes and you tend to, it's kind of a bewildering getting back into the education side. And you kind of forget that you have this huge network of people that are here for you. And that's what I really try and push a lot of times to get the newer students involved in some of these things. It's just not so much that you have to be a diehard member of the SVO, but just to kind of get you into the network and make sure you know what options and supports are available for you here, because there are a lot. We typically do try and do, like, we're a social organization, so we do a lot of social events, but we also try and do stuff with community relations, whether it be like Habitat for Humanity, doing volunteer stuff with local organizations or nonprofits, and then also just supporting veteran activities in the area. Jennifer Paluto organizes a veteran cemetery cleanup on a fairly regular basis, it feels like. So we do that. We support the honor flight mission that comes in and out of here in Syracuse, and take part in just different activities in and around town around Veterans Day. So that's one of the things that I really wanted to tackle coming on as the president, is to get us a little bit more integrated with different student activities on campus. But we have a little bit of a barrier right now to some of the things that we can do and some of the ideas that I had. But as things return back to normal, yes, the approach is to get not so much the corral the veterans in together, even though it is a great organization for just camaraderie, but more to start pushing veterans into the SU community to get them involved in other student activities as well.
What about the SVA conference, Charlie?
The SVA conference is huge, and so regardless, once you kind of come into the higher education system, you become a student veteran, and there is a national chapter, the Student Veterans of America, and our SVO is the SU chapter of that. It doesn't cost anything. There's no cost associated with it coming from you. You are automatically signed up as a member. How much activity you take with it is up to you. The only thing I will say about that is if you don't get involved with the SVO or something similar, find a community. Find a community that interests you, especially if this is your first time coming into college, especially if you're coming in as an undergrad. I'm not quite sure the makeup of people coming into this, but find something with a community that you can click with. You're going to need help. You're going to need people. But we go to the national conference every year. Syracuse University is the only organization, student veteran organization from across the country, that sends upwards of 20 student veterans, and it doesn't cost us anything. A lot of student veteran organizations around the country, they fundraise all year to be able to afford to send 2 or 3 of their e-board, their SVO leadership, and maybe an advisor to this. And we pack it with 20 people plus staff and pack panels, and because we kind of have a really good program going on, and people want to know why or how to emulate what we're doing here. So, yeah.
Charlie, you mentioned finding your community. Maybe you and Miguel can talk a little bit about some of the things you do that are not necessarily student veteran related on campus as part of a broader Syracuse University community.
One of the things that we were really trying to get engaged with before all the virus hit, and I'm really looking forward to getting back out into, is engaging with local veteran business owners to try and find out what support they can give, but also can they host evenings for us? Can we, or if they're opening up, we have a place here, Anything But Beer, that is owned by actually he's an IVMF grad as well. Great guy, but
Yeah,
he's
MBA grad, yeah.
yeah, great guy, great business idea. I hope everything is working out for him right now, but he's been really big support. But things like that, to find places that you can learn about Syracuse, and you can go out and explore places and get to know some of the places that are here, and also know that those are veteran-owned businesses. There are a lot of places you can go, but that's one of my big pushes, to get veterans out in the community, but I also want them just out in the other student activities on campus so that you're engaged with the regular student body.
Yeah, there's a lot of activities, and the diversity of the city is massive. For Syracuse alone is very diverse. So you'll find many things like I volunteer at the local high school. So I volunteer at Nottingham High School with the forensics because of my science background. So I help out the local high school. Whenever time I can give, I give. They're always looking for volunteers. I forgot her name. She works at Hendrix. Saisha. Yeah. So if you want to volunteer or do something to get involved in the community, she's the best person to talk to. She'll get you anywhere, and she'll explain to you this whole city inside out. She knows everything about the city.
And you're on the Syracuse University Senate, or the Student Senate.
Yes. So as a senator, so I got involved with the Student Association, and they do a lot of things, obviously, for the student undergraduate body. And they would nominate, and they found, because of my military backing, how it would be good representation to have at the Senate. So I got to meet deans, get closer to Vice Chancellor Haney, the provost, the chancellor himself. You get involved more and understand the actual backing of how policy is moving throughout the university and what's actually going through the faculty, staff, and Senate, all the senators. So it's actually really cool to get involved to see the actual political process of the university and how policy is actually being in place and in motion. But that is from a voted position from the undergraduates. So that's how, I had to learn how to talk to students, because I'm not used to that. I'm used to being around military people, military. But then I had to learn how to talk to 18, 19-year-olds. Some of them are 20. You actually get to learn a different way. How you used to talk in the service, it's kind of different how you would talk to them. So it was really cool, and you learn to develop new relationships and friendships with the students. So I had to learn how to do that.
Yeah. And I'll jump in here a little bit on my own personal experience. So I've played on a co-ed softball run by SU's intramural leagues. We've had student veterans that are on the rugby team, which is a Division I club rugby team. Ben Brickman was a wide receiver for Syracuse University, played for SU football, Marine Corps veteran. So we've had students that are involved in a lot of different athletic opportunities. If you're like me and you just kind of want to play co-ed softball and not, play, college football at D1 school, you could do that as well. So that's a lot of fun. There's dodgeball teams. We've got a team that got a dodgeball team together.
So as our last question, Miguel and Charlie, what advice would you give to a student who's applying to Syracuse University? And Jessica and Austin, what advice would you give, same thing, to a student that's applying to Syracuse University from the admissions perspective?
Charlie, gonna start us out?
Yeah, I was, because I want to automatically just jump to buy warm clothes, winter clothes, but I'm trying not to be facetious. I think come in with the understanding that you're leaving a military environment and coming into an academic one. I think a lot of times student veterans, I've met a few here that like to kind of carry that little bit gruffer kind of exterior to them, but really embrace the academic environment that you're coming into. You have this weird moment where you can kind of hit pause on your life and really kind of take a look at what you have been doing, what you want to do, where you want to go, and you're in a community here that can really support you in whatever direction you want. So I say take advantage of the opportunities that you're going to have here as they come up, and don't just, not unlike the military where you don't want to be the volunteer here, take the opportunity to say yes whenever opportunities come up to you here, because they will, and they can lead you on some pretty amazing experiences and meet people. So.
And I'll echo what Jorge said about that too. Like, the professors that you have here are really top notch. I've networked with some really cool professors from the anthropology department. Like, I didn't know he used to work for the World Health Organization, and these are my public health professor. She was actually the director of public health for a university. She worked with the VA, and she's actually the reason why leading health for the holistic health. So it's actually really cool. Some of the people that you don't even realize that you're talking to have done some spectacular achievements, or like Dr. London. So with the HIV test that we look at today, that's in the national statistics, he's the founder of that. And I was like, wait, you're the one who did that. That's still being used over 20 years later. So these professors that you are networking with, get to know them because they want to know you, and keep an open mind because they have skills and ideas that they wish they could have had when they're in your position that they're going to give to you.
Go to office hours. I'm sorry. He said link with your professors, because a lot of students don't do it. And it's an opportunity just to sit down and talk with your professor and get them to know them one-on-one. Go to their office hours.
Yeah, that's not even student veterans in particular. That's any student ever. Go to office hours for sure. I got any advice I would have for student veterans coming into Syracuse or interested in coming to Syracuse would be to go after whatever it is you want exactly. Don't go after what's popular. Don't go after what other people tell you is cool. Don't go after what's going to possibly make you the most money someday. Don't waste your time or your military benefits chasing something that you don't want to do someday. Have the major you want, have the career field you want, have the career path you want, I guess is what I would definitely try to say. Because, you know, you worked hard for these benefits and you worked hard for this opportunity to go to your dream school, hopefully someday, right? So definitely don't waste your time or your benefits doing something you might not want to do for the next 50 years of your life. Chase the program you want, the degree you want, the school you want, the career path you want, all that kind of stuff. And if you do that, everything else will kind of come out in the wash, essentially. I like to tell students, you know, so definitely go after exactly what it is you want. Everything else will take care of itself, but put yourself on your own path to your success. Don't think about anything else other than that.
Yeah, and so my big piece of advice, and I did this when I was in college, when I didn't go to SU, and so I'm going to say, don't do what I did. You can really easily come in, take classes, go home, and that's it. I would say come in hungry to take advantage of all of the resources and all of the opportunities, all the research, all of the, you know, outstanding professors. You can really make the most of a Syracuse University education if you really invest yourself into being curious and being hungry and wanting to learn more, because you have these, you know, we kind of sometimes say, oh, they're you know, 18, 19-year-olds, but we have very hungry and motivated students who are 18, 19 years old that are, you know, running their own businesses already. So you have this wealth of resources and networking opportunities and all of these things. I always tell when I visit high schools and high school students, I say, would you, you know, if you had a pile of gold right here, would you walk up and take one little piece and walk away and say, that's okay, that's good? No, you'd keep coming back and keep trying to see what else you can do and take advantage. And I see kind of education as this kind of wealth of gold, and don't just take one little piece and walk away. Really, you know, get in there and Scrooge McDuck it and swim through it and all of that. If anybody gets that reference, maybe I'm too old. Charlie and I are almost the same age, so we get those references. And then I would say own your story. Don't hide who you are and what you've been through and all of that. Own your story. That's part of what makes you a unique and awesome addition to a Syracuse University campus. We value differences of opinions and varieties of experience. We have students that have lived in other countries and international students and a lot of student veterans. And so you just make up this rich Syracuse University community. And so don't hide who you are. We really want our student veterans to embrace kind of, you know, the path that they've been on. And not everybody kind of blazes the same path. I always say that every day is no two students, you know, walk the exact same path here through Syracuse. And so kind of make your own path, do what you want to do. If you want to study abroad, you go abroad. If you want to do an internship in New York City, do that internship. Don't feel like, again, like Austin said, like you have to conform to what's cool or what, you know, your family thinks you should do or anything like that. Really go after what you want. It's a really great opportunity.
Well, we've come to the end of our time for this evening's presentation. I want to thank Miguel and Charlie for taking time out of their busy schedules to make this such a great panel this evening, and to thank Jessica and Austin for taking time to come and tell us about some of the things that make Syracuse University so great. So if you have any questions—
We appreciate you, Scott, for moderating our panel.
My pleasure. If anyone has any questions, you can email us at rwb@syr.edu, or you can call us at area code 315-443-3611. I hope everyone has a great night, and go Orange.